Welcome to CW Primetime News. Tonight, we'll report on the damning news of President Warren G. Harding's scandalous affair with Nan Britton, a young adolescent girl. Reporting on this infamous affront, your hosts, Kelsey Rebarger, Lauren Stewart, and your host, and yours truly, Nick Gornitis.
The nation is sick of war and the problems of peace. It wants normalcy. The kind of normalcy symbolized by Warren G. Harding, the Republican candidate for president in 1920. Harding defeats the Democratic nominee by one of the largest majorities in history.
First, we will turn over to Lauren to discuss the elements of this scandal and future subsequent tell-alls. Lauren?
It's been 3 years since Nan Britton released her scandalous tell-all, The President's Daughter, and we're here to reflect on one of the juicy scandals that left the late President Harding's reputation tarnished forever. You might remember hearing about all the things Britton revealed in her tell-all as she exposed her extramarital affair with President Warren Harding in pretty salacious detail. Britton became obsessed with Warren Harding at the young age of 14 when he was 45 years old, aware of him due to their being neighbors. Harding was made aware of Britton's obsession and began inviting her to his office for visits for some time before taking her virginity years later and participating in a full-on sexual relationship with Britton while married to his wife. The two of them would have sex in random hotel rooms in different spots around the White House, in secret from the public and his wife, even though she likely suspected her husband was cheating. The affair was made public due to Britton's tell-all book released after Harding's death. In The President's Daughter, Britton spills everything from how they met to the details of her sex life with the president to the claim that Harding was the father of her child. Britton stood on the platform that Harding's death left her without financial support for their baby, which is an issue that she believed should be solved for all mothers of unplanned children. The response to Britton's tell-all was not positive, to say the least. Britton was victim-shamed and met with hatred for her accusations against the late president. One of the most prominent examples of the negative response was Dr. Joseph DeBart writing a book titled The Answer in 1928. In the book, Dr. Bart called Britton a sexual deviant and liar, speaking for the public in many ways. Both Britton and Harding were ultimately left with tarnished reputations for years to come and even to this day.
Thanks, Lauren, for your work on this case. Next, we turn over to Kelsey to discuss the society's response to the scandal. What can you tell us today, Kelsey?
The main people involved in this scandal was Nana Popham Britton. She was the secretary and mistress of President Harding. Ever since she was a little girl, she was obsessed with him, and she sought his advice when seeking a job. After Harding's death, she revealed that Elizabeth Ann Blasing, her daughter, was Harding's child. Harding had fathered Elizabeth while he was serving in the Senate 1 year before election. Britton's claim was questioned drastically during her life, but recent DNA tests have proven that Harding was indeed the father of this love child. Elizabeth Ann Blasing is the daughter of President Harding and Nan. Warren G. Harding was the 29th President of the United States, and he entertained multiple mistresses through his lifetime. Harding never met his daughter but provided financial support. He and Miss Britton continued their relationship after he became president. Nan was devastated when Harding died in 1923, and she discovered that there was no provision to support their daughter. Harding had adamantly denied having these affairs, and he also denied fathering her child. All of his political associates stuck to that story. But after his death, these associates stopped making any payments to Nan and her daughter. In need of money and shut out by Harding's family, she wrote The President's Daughter in 1927, inciting a fierce backlash from his supporters. A grandson of Nan stated that the family lived with scorn for decades. They were followed, their house was broken into, and items were stolen to try and prove the relationship was a lie. After his death, Britton sued Harding's estate to gain a trust fund for her daughter. Failing at that, she wrote her best-selling book, dedicated to all unwed mothers and their innocent children whose fathers are unusually not known to the world. It recounted the specific logistics of the affair in great detail. Harding had no other children, and his family believed he was sterile. Due to this, Harding insisted that Nan destroy her letters with him. President Harding had mumps as a kid and was infertile, and the family really vilified Nan due to this. The family used the claim of Harding being sterile to paint Nan as a liar and a villain. Consequently, doubt and mystery shrouded the paternal lineage of Elizabeth Blasing for almost 100 years. While he was a popular leader at the time of his death, his reputation quickly suffered as a series of scandals emerged. Nan's book contained no small amount of salaciousness, including tales of illicit sex in the White House as Secret Service agents stood watch. While some White House reporters seemed aware of Harding's appetite for women, they kept quiet. This sometimes encouraged the president to let his guard down. He stated that it's a good thing I'm not a woman because I would be pregnant. I can't say no. For the most part, no one believed Nan's tales or that the child was Harding's, and as stated before, she was denounced as a deranged pervert, a gold-digging liar, a slut, and worse. Everyone painted her as an obsessive psychopath. Britten's sense of timing to cash in could not have been better. All that her papers show is a lifetime of fixation with Harding and her unending effort to have him as the father of her child. These statements show a brief glimpse of what Harding's family thought of Nan after her claims. One congressman introduced a bill into the House attempting to ban the sale of the book, stating that it was a blast from hell. And as we can see, Harding's appetite for women didn't end when he became president. If anything, they increased. In 2015, Ancestry.com confirmed the lineage and connection to Harding and his grandson, James Blasing. The DNA of that and two of Harding's descendants was linked. This link to him as president showed that the relationship between Nan and Harding was official. In 2020, James Blasing went to court in an effort to get the Republican remains exhumed from the presidential memorial, where they have lain since 1927. At the time, Blasing told the Associated Press that he was delighted that his mother's legacy was linked to the president. However, since then, he has had little to no recognition, and he has not been approached to provide the details of her life or even a photograph for the coming display. Therefore, he has taken this to court and decided that more efforts need to be done.
Thank you, Kelsey, for your wonderful input on the matter. Finally, I will offer my own analysis of the scandal's impact on the Washington community and broader American culture, as well as its implications on future presidential scandals.
President Harding's scandalous sexual escapade with Nan Britton captivated the American narrative in the early 20th century. Washington, D.C. was in the midst of the Roaring '20s, a time where young generations forced the expulsion of the old guard in favor of a newer, fresher, and sexually free culture. Flappers normalized relaxed sexual encounters through petting parties, along with their liberal use of revealing attire and bobbed haircuts. Petting parties, however, did not involve sex, so giving birth out of wedlock was still viewed with contempt. After Britton's claim that she had mothered the child of President Harding, she encountered the abuse and insults of the public, reminding us all of the cultural standards found in the 1920s Washington, D.C. While some more socially liberal individuals may not have condemned her, the masses were clearly still committed to their Judeo-Christian expectations of monogamy and post-marital pregnancies. This scandal revealed that in the midst of revolutionary cultural diversion from the zeitgeist of previous generations, the avant-garde failed to prevent the masses from retreating to their unfair, archaic sexual expectations of women.
The impact of the Ward Harding sex scandal on Washington, D.C. in terms of future tell-alls is another aspect of the scandal that left a lasting impression on the city. Kay Summersby's tell-all mirrors Britton's in many ways. Summersby released her second collection of memoirs in 1976, detailing her affair between herself and the president in greater detail than ever before. She said in reference to why she chose to spill this information when it was released, quote, "The general is dead, I am dying. When I wrote Eisenhower was my boss in 1948, I omitted many things. I changed some details, glossed over others, to disguise as best I could the intimacy that had grown between General Eisenhower and me. It was better that way." Although there was no child involved in this situation, Summersby, like Britton, waited until the death of Eisenhower to release all the details of the affair, suggesting that Nan Britton set the precedent for many future tell-alls in Washington. Madeleine Brown is another woman who had an affair with the former president. The lover of Lyndon B. Johnson, Brown claimed to have had the child of the president shortly before Johnson's death in a Conservatory Press memoir titled Texas in the Morning, The Love Story of Madeleine Brown. Again, Brown waited until years after the actual affair to share her story, showing parallels to Britton and Harding's tell-all situation. The concept of waiting to share and release tell-alls rather than sharing after the end of the affairs ultimately seems to be a significant precedent set by Nan Britton and her choice to release the president's daughter years after the end of their affair and after Harding's death.
Harding was hardly the first, nor the last president to engage in extramarital affairs. Lyndon B. Johnson, John F. Kennedy, Dwight Eisenhower, Bill Clinton, and even former President Trump were all involved in such affairs. While condemned by society, this pattern reveals the unchanging nature of humanity, as well as the carefree attitudes of male presidents. Monica Lewinsky was badgered and harassed her entire adulthood by society, the media, and even pop artists. While Bill Clinton, his reputation remained unscathed. The affair, no more than an odd occurrence that was swept under the rug in his case. It reveals that, while DC's culture may look very different than the past century, its patriarchal and heteronormative perspectives and expectations on sexuality have yet to be amended.